responsibilities start to stack up, when life gets loud, how do we stay consistent with our meditation practice? And that's one of the questions that one of the members in the soul work community asked. And I thought, that's a good point. How do we really go about it? Because when life becomes chaotic, it can be so easy to want to go into, I need to handle everything. How do I handle everything? And so suddenly, as I remember with my own experience, it starts to be easy to forget about the fundamentals, right? And I'm sharing that because if you, this is the first time, that you get to hear me talk about this. I spent over 13 years practicing meditation on a daily basis. I mean, to the point where I have accumulated over 4,500 hours. So I understand, those situations where suddenly life gets so busy that it's like, okay, how do I make sure that I don't feel like I'm losing my footing and I'm still able to do the things that I need to do, and things are able to move in the right direction while still making sure that I don't lose myself in the process. And so one of the ways that I've gone about it when it comes to the meditation piece is always reminding myself that despite of anything that happens, I have to go back to that time with myself. That is the foundation. That is where everything starts. Because I used to live in a way where I was very reactive to what life would throw at me, and eventually it really got the best of me. And I mean, to a point where I even got to lose everything, and was questioning myself and was wondering, okay, well, what is missing? But once I realized, out of that chaos and learning to spend time with myself, that okay, that would offer me the opportunity to not so much be responsive anymore, but to be in control, to still be in charge despite everything that's happening externally. And realizing through that process that at the end of the day, there's there are only so many things that we can control. And a day can go by without having something taken care of, and things will still be okay. And not everything is important, not everything is urgent. But how would I know that? So the way that I would go about it is every time I would suddenly find myself in a chaotic situation, life would get loud, and I'm supposed to take care of all those things. I would remember that, okay, take the time, whether it's me having that time the next day or in the moment, deciding that, okay, you know what, I'm going to stop everything and I'm going to have that meditative time with myself. And I decide and I go with what makes sense. It would feel like, okay, maybe I need to take half an hour. Maybe I need to stop everything that I'm doing today and just take an hour, right? So that would be for myself. So as I would come out of that time, now I can address everything that's, all of those external demands, so to speak. But as long as I make that time, that always made a difference. So as I would go into that time, I would always go in there with that intention of offering my situation in the meditative space. So I go in there with intention, knowing that, hey, this is what's happening in my life right now. There are all these things. I don't know where I need to focus. What should I do next? Where should I focus? And the key for me has been to listen. So once I get settled into that meditative time, and I've shared my intention, the help, the support that I'm looking for right now. Once I release that, then I just stay there and just listen. And also because during that time, it really is a gift for myself where I get to just stay away from the noise, and I get to insulate myself from the noise because I get to go inwards. And for me, going inwards is where there's so much inner peace. Once we get to that stage, and we can even find it if we're not accustomed to connecting with it immediately. But this is where there is that peace where we get insulated from everything that's happening externally. And so as I would do that, I would just wait, listen, and most importantly, I would let go, because I trust that that moment is going to serve me in some way, in the best way that it knows how. And so I would just wait and just be there. And yes, thoughts, all sorts of thoughts might be going, because when facing those chaotic situations, when life gets loud again, when they're all of the sudden, all these priorities that we seem that we have to take care of course, our mind, our brain is going to have all these thoughts, and they're going to go in all directions. But what I really like when this happens is for me to be okay with it, because it's life. And I remember early on my meditation journey practice, when I was learning that. And by the way, I've been essentially self teaching that myself. I would use the analogy of people watching. You know, a lot of us have done that. And, I would sit in a park, for instance, and have all these people around, and I would just be on the bench and just sit there and enjoy being there and see all of these people, going around. And I would equate that to, all those people going around doing their own thing as the thoughts. And I'm there just sitting and just watching everything that's happening without connecting to them, just being. And as I apply the same process during, that meditative time, I would look at my thoughts the same way. I would not connect to them. I would just let them be. And eventually what would happen is that everything would just calm down, or the noise would become background noise. And suddenly I'm in this place of silence. And during those moments, typically now some answers will start to come up. Because I do believe that there is something in us. For me, it's my spirit, my soul, right? I believe that it knows how to best guide me, regardless of the situation that I'm in. And so during that time, typically, I would get a few answers that would come to the surface. So really, I'm there paying attention to what comes up to the surface. And that can happen, at different times. I never know when that happens, but I know it is going to happen sometimes. Sometimes it happens within a few minutes. Sometimes it can be 10, sometimes 20, 30, right? It also depends on which stage of our meditation journey we are on, and our ability to really tap into that and allow for things to come up. But step by step. And so I would just listen, and eventually something, maybe one answer or two would come up, suggesting my next first steps. And I would be suggested what it is that I should be doing. What are the very few things that I should be doing for that day, for instance. And once I realize that and I make a note of it, then I realize that really those are the only few items, or maybe one item, or maybe it's just a matter of not doing anything again, whatever would come up. And I would choose to trust that and go with that. And so as that would happen, by the end of that meditative experience, I would have my game plan. And I know that, okay, for that day, this is what I must do. And then if this is the kind of chaotic situation, or life is really getting busy and all these priorities are there, and it's still there the next day, that's totally fine. The next day I go and make sure that the priority is to have that time of introspection. That's all that it comes down to. So the next day I would have that. I would go through the same process and just hear what comes up. Would make a note of it again, and then trust that this is all that I need to do. And when I would get to do that over time, I realized that, what? And I would look at the all of these notes, day after day. I would look at where I am in the present moment and go, what? Everything is still okay. Nothing has burned down. No, there's still a roof over my head. I'm still good. I still have my health. Everything is good, and things are not as bad as I thought they could have been back then, when maybe I was panicking and wondering, okay, what should I do? How can I handle everything? When realizing really I did not need to handle everything. There were only a few things that needed to be handled, and that was okay. And so that shifted my position from being reactive to external circumstances to staying in charge and in control and dictating how I'm addressing the things that are happening in my world in a way that I still feel empowered and in control. So that's really it. And so that's the question that was brought up by one of our members, one of the challenges that was brought up by one of our members in Soul Work, because I believe the one thing that was mentioned is the ability to still slow down when things seems to accelerate and all of these responsibilities start to pile up. So that's how we can preserve that daily practice, just by simply making sure that we make the time for it. It sounds so simple, but at the end of the day, this is it, that regardless of what happens, regardless of where we find ourselves, we find the time, we make the time, we schedule the time to have that time with ourselves, because this is where we get to get the most important questions and the answers and the steps that do matter. This is what I've done. This is what I suggest. And so I hope that you're finding this helpful. Again, if I just have to stress one thing, just it's about making the time and going through that process. That's it. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The choice has to be made there. And once you do, this is where everything changes. So I hope that you find this helpful. If you have questions around it, just let me know, whether in the comments here or simply, hey, I invite you to join our free Soul Work community. And I am going to attach the link in the description below. And this is a place where you'll find all the resources that's needed for you to either start your meditation journey. So if you're a beginner, it's a great place to start. If you're more intermediate and or advanced, the resources are there. Again, I've been through the range of this thing, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing in this with this meditation practice. And yeah, if you have any questions, again, let me know. And I invite you to come in this free community where we can support you on your journey, especially if you are having moments like these where life suddenly feels loud and there's chaos and responsibilities are stacking up. We're a community that's there to support one another during these times and really make sure that we are able to go through this transition in the way that feels the easiest. So we're all in this together. I hope I'll see you in the community. And again, I'm going to leave the link here. Now, if you find that this was helpful to you, give me a sign, whether it's a thumb up or maybe it's just a question or an insight that you had. You'll find that not only is going to let me know that this was helpful, but you're also going to help spread the word with the algorithm, because you never know, someone may need it as well. And that's going to be a good way for you to, hey, pay it forward so someone else who is in the same situation can benefit from this as well. So thank you so much for the question, and I will see you at the next video. Until next time, talk to you soon and be well.